The sound of Priya's heels clicking across our hardwood floor at midnight told me everything I needed to know. She was dressed to impress, literally wearing the black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last year, the one she claimed made her feel powerful. Tonight, it was making her feel powerful enough to humiliate me. "I'm going to Raj's birthday party," she announced, not even looking at me as she checked her lipstick in the hallway mirror. "You're not invited, so don't wait up." I glanced up from my laptop where I'd been debugging code for 12 straight hours. The irony wasn't lost on me. I spent my days fixing other people's broken systems while my own marriage crashed and burned in real time. "Sure thing," I said with a grin that probably looked more like a grimace. "Knock yourself out." That's when I knew our marriage was officially over. Her voice carried all the warmth of a foreclosure notice, and about as much compassion. But here's the thing about being married to someone for 8 years. You learn to read between the lines, and what I was reading made my stomach turn. Raj, her ex-boyfriend from college. The same Raj who'd been sliding into her Instagram DMs for months, thinking I was too stupid to notice. The same Raj who owned 3 nightclubs downtown and drove a Mercedes he couldn't actually afford. All flash, no substance. Exactly the kind of guy Priya had started gravitating toward since she'd reinvented herself as a lifestyle consultant. "Have fun," I called out as the front door slammed behind her, but I wasn't planning to sit around feeling sorry for myself. See, there's something most people don't know about me. I used to box. Semi-professionally back in my 20s, before I discovered I had a talent for computers and a glass jaw. Boxing taught me 2 important lessons: how to take a punch and how to wait for the perfect moment to throw one back. My phone started buzzing almost immediately. Priya's Instagram stories were already going live from the Uber. Champagne flute in one hand, phone in the other, that practiced smile she'd perfected for social media. The comments started rolling in from her followers, mostly other wives from our neighborhood who lived vicariously through her increasingly wild nights out. "Living your best life, girl." "Where's Owen tonight?" "You look amazing, so jealous." I screenshot every single one. Call it paranoia, but 8 years of marriage had taught me to document everything. By 1 a.m., the posts were getting more interesting. Priya in a VIP booth, surrounded by people I didn't recognize. By 2 a.m., there was Raj, arm around her waist, both of them laughing at something on his phone. By 3 a.m., they were slow dancing to music I couldn't hear, her head on his shoulder. That's when I made my first move. I'd been preparing for this moment longer than I cared to admit. 3 months ago, when I'd first noticed the change in Priya's behavior, I'd quietly set up an LLC. Nothing fancy, just a simple business structure that my lawyer friend Kelly had helped me establish. "Trust, but verify," she'd told me, "and always have an exit strategy." The shared checking account took about 10 minutes to drain, not stealing, just transferring our money to an account that only I controlled. Technically, it was still our money. I just wasn't sharing access anymore. Next, I packed a bag. Not everything, just enough for a few days. I left my regular phone on the kitchen counter, still connected, still charging, but I wasn't taking it with me. The burner phone I'd bought last week would do just fine. Mrs. Finch, our 70-year-old neighbor, was probably already making notes about my car disappearing from the driveway at 4 a.m. She had insomnia and a passion for other people's business that would make the FBI jealous. Perfect. I wanted people to notice I was gone. The motel on the east side wasn't much to look at, but it was clean and they took cash. More importantly, it was the last place anyone would think to look for a software engineer who made decent money. I checked in under a fake name and settled in to wait. By noon the next day, my regular phone had 17 missed calls from Priya. I listened to the voicemails on my burner, watching her emotional journey play out in real time. Message 1. "Owen, where the hell are you? Your car's gone and you're not answering. This is ridiculous." Message 5. "Okay, I'm starting to get worried. Please just call me back and let me know you're alive." Message 12. I'm sorry, okay? I know last night probably looked bad, but nothing happened. Please come home. Message 17. I'm scared, Owen. Please. Whatever you think happened, we can work through it. Just please call me. But I wasn't ready to call her. Not yet. First, I had some research to do. The thing about being married to someone who documents their entire life on social media is that they leave a digital trail wider than the Mississippi. Priya thought she was being clever, but she'd forgotten that I was the one who'd set up all her accounts, helped her with privacy settings, even taught her how to use scheduling apps for her posts. She'd also forgotten that I still had access to our shared cloud storage. From my motel room, I spent the next day downloading everything. Photos, videos, chat logs, email threads, 8 years of digital marriage laid bare across my laptop screen. Most of it was innocent, but scattered throughout were breadcrumbs that told a different story. Text thread with her friend Mel from 2 months ago. Raj asked about you again. Says he never got over you. That's sweet, but I'm married. To a guy who works 80 hours a week and hasn't taken you anywhere nice in months. Mel, I'm just saying. When's the last time Owen made you feel special? Email exchange with her sister from 3 weeks ago. I feel like I'm disappearing in my own life. Owen's a good guy, but he's so predictable, safe, boring. Maybe you need some excitement. Maybe I do. The photos were worse, not explicit, but telling. Raj at various events over the past month, always in the background of Priya's shots. Casual touches that lasted too long, looks that said more than words. But the real smoking gun was buried in a folder labeled Work Stuff, screenshots of Raj's DMs going back 6 weeks. Miss talking to you. Remember that weekend in college when we drove to the coast? You look incredible in that blue dress. Owen's a lucky man. If things were different, they could be different. That last exchange was from 5 days ago. My phone, the burner, rang. Unknown number. Owen? It was Kelly, my lawyer friend. Priya called me. She's looking for you. What did you tell her? That attorney-client privilege means I can't discuss your whereabouts, even if I knew them, which I don't, officially. But between friends, are you okay? I'm better than okay. I need you to draw up some papers. Divorce? Separation, and a cease and desist letter. She's been using our joint credit card for entertainment expenses that I didn't authorize. Kelly was quiet for a moment. Owen, whatever you're planning, I'm not planning anything illegal, just protecting my assets and my sanity. Okay, I can have the papers ready by tomorrow afternoon. After I hung up, I drove across town to my old boxing gym. Reggie's place hadn't changed in 10 years. Same cracked mirrors, same smell of sweat and leather, same inspirational posters with sayings like, "Champions are made when nobody's watching." Reggie looked up from the heavy bag he was adjusting when I walked in. He was 65 now, gray-haired but still solid as a brick wall. Well, well, look what the cat dragged in. His voice carried that familiar mix of affection and sarcasm that had gotten me through dozens of training sessions. Thought you'd gotten too fancy for us working folks. Never too fancy for family, I said, and meant it. Reggie had been more of a father figure than my actual father ever was. You look like hell, son. What's eating you? I gave him the condensed version while we worked the bags. Reggie was a good listener. Came from years of being a trainer, I guess. People told him their problems while they sweated out their frustrations. So what's your plan? He asked when I finished. I'm going to make them beg. Reggie stopped wrapping his hands and looked at me seriously. You want to really hurt someone, you don't hit them in the face. You hit them where they live, their pride, their wallet, their reputation. Make them understand what they lost. Exactly. But you don't become them in the process. You understand me? You stay clean. I understand. That night, I paid Raj's Mercedes a visit. The The club district was busy enough that one more person walking through the parking garage wouldn't attract attention. His car was easy to spot, vanity plates that read "ragging" because apparently subtlety wasn't his strong suit. I didn't key the paint or break any windows. That would be criminal damage. Instead, I let the air out of all 4 tires, poured spoiled milk into the air conditioning intake, and left a note under his windshield wiper. Hope you like the smell of betrayal. This is just the beginning. Then I went back to my motel and waited. Kelly delivered the papers to Priya at her favorite coffee shop downtown, right in the middle of her Tuesday morning routine. I wasn't there to see it, but Mel posted about it on her Instagram story, a video of Priya crying over legal documents while her iced latte sat untouched. Guys, send good vibes to my girl Priya. She's going through something really hard right now. The cease and desist letter was particularly effective. Priya had charged almost $3,000 to our joint credit card over the past month. Dinners, drinks, a weekend spa trip that I definitely hadn't been invited to. Now she was legally prohibited from using it, and the card company had already been notified. Her bank account bounced that afternoon when she tried to pay for lunch. The shared savings account she'd been using for her business expenses was frozen, pending the separation proceedings. By evening, my burner phone was ringing constantly with calls from her number. I let them all go to voicemail. Owen, this is insane. You can't just disappear and freeze our accounts. I have bills to pay. The lawyer said you think I'm having an affair. Is that what this is about? Because I'm not. Okay, maybe I've been spending time with Raj, but it's not what you think. He's just a friend. Please call me back. People are starting to ask questions and I don't know what to tell them. That last part was interesting. Priya's entire identity was built around maintaining appearances. She was the wife who had it all together, the woman other women envied. Having that image crack in public was her worst nightmare. I decided to help it along. Wednesday morning, I drove to the office building where Priya did freelance work for a high-end interior design firm. She'd been trying to land a full-time position there for months, desperate to prove she was more than just a lifestyle consultant with an Instagram following. The lobby was all marble and glass, the kind of place where everyone wore designer clothes and spoke in hushed tones about aesthetic vision and spatial narratives. I fit in about as well as a beer can at a wine tasting. I'm here to see Margot Stevens, I told the receptionist. I'm Owen Miller, Priya Miller's husband. Margot was everything Priya aspired to be, successful, confident, intimidating in that effortless way that comes from actually earning your position. She agreed to see me, probably out of curiosity more than anything else. Mr. Miller, I have to say, this is unexpected. Priya's never mentioned that she's married. Yeah, that seems to be going around. I placed a folder on her desk. I thought you should know that my wife has been using company resources for personal business. Specifically, she's been using your client database to promote her social media brand, and she's been meeting with potential romantic partners during work hours. Margot's expression shifted from confusion to concern as she flipped through the printed screenshots I'd prepared. Priya's Instagram posts geo-tagged at the office during business hours. Messages to Raj sent from the company Wi-Fi network. Client contact information that had somehow made its way into her personal marketing materials. This is troubling, Margot said finally. I'm not trying to get her fired. I just thought you deserved to know the truth about who you're considering bringing on full-time. I appreciate your honesty, Mr. Miller. Though I have to ask, why bring this to me instead of discussing it with your wife? Because my wife stopped having honest conversations with me about 3 months ago. I left the building feeling lighter than I had in weeks, not because I'd hurt Priya, though I had, but because I'd finally stopped pretending everything was fine. That afternoon, Raj's business partner Vinny called me. I'd never met the guy, but apparently Raj had been complaining about his car troubles, and somehow my name had come up. Look, I don't know what kind of beef you got with Raj, but you need to back off. He's got anxiety issues, and this harassment thing you got going is affecting his work." "Harassment?" I laughed. I left him a note. If that counts as harassment, maybe he should stay away from married women. He said you threatened him. I didn't threaten anybody, but since we're talking, you might want to look into those anxiety issues, because if he's too stressed to handle a little anonymous feedback, maybe he's not the right partner for a business that depends on staying cool under pressure. Vinny hung up on me, but I could hear the doubt in his voice. Raj was already cracking, and the pressure had barely started. Thursday evening, I decided it was time to make my presence known again. I drove past our house just as Priya was getting home from another emergency meeting with Mel. She looked exhausted. No makeup, hair in a messy ponytail, wearing sweatpants that she would normally never seen in outside the house. She saw my car and ran toward it, but I didn't stop. I just drove slowly past, made eye contact through the window, and kept going. In my rearview mirror, I watched her standing in our driveway, arms wrapped around herself, looking smaller than I'd seen her in years. My phone buzzed with a text from her number. "I saw you. Please come home. We need to talk." I texted back from my burner. "Nothing to talk about. You made your choice." "What choice?" "Owen, I don't understand what's happening. Check your Instagram DMs. The screenshots I sent should clear things up." I'd sent her everything. Every flirty message with Raj, every conversation with Mel about how boring her marriage was, every lie she'd told about working late when she was really out playing single woman. My phone went quiet for about an hour. Then, "Can we please talk in person? I can explain everything." "Explanation time is over, Priya. Now it's consequences time." Friday night, Priya's design firm was hosting a networking event at one of the trendy downtown hotels. I knew she'd be there because Mel had posted about it, encouraging all her followers to support small businesses and amazing women in design. I put on my best suit, the navy one Priya had picked out for me 2 Christmases ago, and showed up uninvited. The event was exactly what I'd expected. A room full of people in expensive clothes, holding wine glasses and talking about innovative solutions and disrupting traditional paradigms. Priya was working the room like a politician, all smiles and air kisses, pretending her world wasn't falling apart. She spotted me from across the room and went pale. I watched her excuse herself from a conversation and make her way toward me, trying to look casual while clearly panicking. "Owen, what are you doing here?" "Networking," I said, loud enough for the people around us to hear. "I thought it was time I met some of your colleagues. You know, the ones you've been spending so much time with. Please don't do this here." "Do what? Support my wife's career? Isn't that what good husbands do?" Margot appeared at Priya's elbow, looking uncomfortable. "Mr. Miller, I wasn't expecting to see you tonight." "Surprise," I said with my biggest smile. "I hope you don't mind me crashing the party. Priya's been working so hard lately, staying out so late for work events. I thought it was time I saw what all the fuss was about." Priya's hand found my arm, her grip tight enough to leave marks. "Owen, please." "Please what? Please don't tell everyone how dedicated you are, how you've been putting in extra hours, building relationships, really going above and beyond." A small crowd was starting to gather, drawn by the tension in our voices. I recognized some faces from Priya's Instagram posts, colleagues, potential clients, people whose opinions mattered to her professionally. "Speaking of relationships," I continued, pulling out my phone, "I have some great photos from your recent networking events. Really shows your commitment to building connections." I started swiping through screenshots. Priya and Raj at various clubs and restaurants, looking very much like a couple. The timestamps showed they'd been taken on nights when she'd told me she was working late or having girls' nights with Mel. "This one's my favorite," I said, holding up a photo of Priya and Raj slow dancing. "Really captures that professional networking spirit, don't you think?" "Owen, stop." Priya's voice was barely a whisper. "Oh, and here's a fun one. I opened the screenshot of their text messages. This is Raj explaining to my wife how much he misses their college relationship and how things could be different if she wanted them to be. Great mentorship advice, really. Margot stepped forward. Mr. Miller, I think perhaps… You're right, I said, pocketing my phone. This isn't the time or place for personal matters. Priya, we should discuss this at home, if you can fit me into your busy social calendar. I turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and Margot, you might want to reconsider that full-time position. My wife's been using company time and resources for personal business, but I'm sure she'll tell you all about it. I walked out of the hotel lobby and didn't look back, but I could hear the buzz of conversation starting behind me. By tomorrow, everyone in Priya's professional circle would know her marriage was imploding, and why. My phone started ringing before I reached my car, Priya's number over and over. I let it ring. Then Mel called from her number. I answered that one. Owen, you need to stop this right now. Do you have any idea what you just did to her? I told the truth. If that's damaging, maybe she should have thought about that before she started living a lie. She made a mistake, but she's not a bad person. You're destroying her life over nothing. Nothing. Mel, she's been having an emotional affair for months. She's been lying to me, lying to her colleagues, lying to herself, and you've been helping her do it. I was being a good friend. No, you were being an enabler. There's a difference. She loves you, Owen. She's just confused right now. She loves the idea of me. The safety net, the joint bank account, the respectable husband she can fall back on when her adventures don't work out. But she doesn't love me enough to be honest with me, and that's not enough anymore. I hung up and drove back to my motel. Tomorrow, I'd start the next phase. Saturday morning brought the kind of autumn rain that makes everything look gray and depressing. Perfect weather for what I had planned. I'd been monitoring Raj's social media accounts, and he was supposed to be at his penthouse apartment all weekend, recovering from the drama, according to a post he'd made, and then quickly deleted. Apparently, the spoiled milk in his car's AC system had been more effective than I'd hoped. He'd had to get the entire ventilation system professionally cleaned, and his anxiety about anonymous harassment was affecting his sleep. Good. I drove to his building, one of those converted warehouse places that tried too hard to look industrial and chic. The doorman recognized me from the photos Raj had probably shown him because he immediately looked uncomfortable. I'm here to see Raj, I said simply. I don't think… Tell him Owen Miller is here. Tell him we need to talk about Priya. 5 minutes later, I was in the elevator heading to the 15th floor. Raj opened his apartment door, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His usually perfect hair was messy, he hadn't shaved, and he was wearing a wrinkled t-shirt that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. Owen, look, man, I think there's been some misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, I said, walking past him into his apartment. You've been pursuing my wife. She's been responding. Now we're all going to deal with the consequences. His place was exactly what I'd expected. All black leather and chrome, with a sound system that probably cost more than most people's cars. The kind of bachelor pad designed to impress women who were easily impressed by expensive toys. I never meant for things to go this far, Raj said, closing the door behind me. Priya and we have history, but I respect that she's married. Funny way of showing respect. All those late-night texts about how things could be different. All those cozy dinners and club visits. Real, respectful behavior. You don't understand. She's unhappy, man. She told me. She told you what she thought you wanted to hear. Just like she told me what she thought I wanted to hear. The difference is, I was actually married to her. You were just entertainment. I walked over to his precious sound system and ran my finger along the top. Nice setup. Must have cost a fortune. Don't touch that. Or what? You'll call the police? Tell them what, exactly? That the husband of the woman you've been trying to steal came to your apartment for a conversation? I could see the fear in his eyes now. Not fear that I'd hurt him, I wasn't going to, but fear that his carefully constructed image was crumbling. "Here's how this is going to work," I said, sitting down in his overpriced leather chair without being invited. "You're going to stop contacting my wife. You're going to stop showing up at places she goes. You're going to disappear from her life completely. And if I don't? Then everyone in your social circle gets to see the screenshots of you begging a married woman to leave her husband, your business partners, your clients, your other girlfriends, because I know there are others. How do you think that affects your reputation as a trustworthy businessman?" Raj sat down heavily on his couch. "What do you want from me? An apology would be nice, but mostly, I want you gone. Out of the city, preferably. I hear Miami's nice this time of year. You can't just run me out of town." "I'm not running you anywhere. I'm just making it clear that staying here is going to be very uncomfortable for you. Your car problems were just the beginning." I stood up and walked back toward his sound system. "This is really impressive. I bet it sounds amazing." "Owen, don't—" I didn't break it. Instead, I pulled out a thick envelope from my jacket pocket and set it on top of the speakers. "What's that?" $5,000 cash. Enough to cover the damage I'm about to do to your stereo, plus a little extra for your inconvenience." "What damage?" I picked up a heavy glass sculpture from his coffee table, some abstract thing that probably had a pretentious name like Urban Harmony or Metropolitan Dreams. "The damage that's going to happen if you ever contact my wife again." I held the sculpture over the main speaker. "This is what your reputation is going to sound like if you don't disappear. Broken, expensive to fix, and never quite the same." Raj jumped up from the couch. Okay, I get it. I'll stay away from Priya, just put that down." "Smart choice." I set the sculpture back on the table. "The money's yours either way. Consider it a going-away present." I headed for the door, then stopped. "Oh, and Raj? If I were you, I'd be very careful about what I posted on social media for the next few months. Anonymous tips about business practices can be very damaging. Just ask your partner, Vinny. He's already starting to have doubts about your stability." I left him standing in his apartment, staring at the envelope of cash, and probably wondering how his perfect life had gotten so complicated so quickly. By the time I got back to my car, my phone was buzzing with a text from an unknown number. "This is Vinny. We need to talk." I texted back. "Nothing to talk about, but you might want to find a new partner. This one's damaged goods." Sunday morning, I finally went home. The house looked the same from the outside, but I could tell Priya had been struggling. The lawn needed mowing, there were newspapers piled up by the front door, and her car was parked crooked in the driveway, like she'd been in a hurry or too distracted to care. I used my key and walked in like I'd never left. Priya was in the kitchen, still in her pajamas at noon, staring at her laptop screen with red-rimmed eyes. She looked up when she heard me come in, and for a moment, neither of us said anything. "You came back," she said finally. "I came to get some things, and to talk." "Owen, I'm so sorry. I know how everything looks, but I swear nothing physical happened with Raj. We just talked, and maybe I got caught up in the attention, but I never meant—" "Stop." I sat down across from her at our kitchen table. "Just stop lying. To me, to yourself, to everyone. It's exhausting." She started crying then, the kind of ugly crying that she never would have let anyone see on social media. I don't know what happened to me. I felt so invisible, so boring. When Raj started paying attention to me, it felt good to matter to someone again. You mattered to me. Did I? When's the last time you looked up from your computer when I walked into a room? When's the last time you told me I looked beautiful without me fishing for a compliment first? She had a point, and we both knew it. I'd gotten comfortable in our marriage, taken her for granted in ways that I was only now starting to understand. "You're right," I said. "I stopped trying. I stopped seeing you. But that doesn't excuse what you did." I know it doesn't. But can't we work through this? Can't we try to fix things? I looked around our kitchen, at the coffee maker we'd bought together 3 years ago, at the refrigerator covered with photos from better times, at the little herb garden she'd started on the windowsill that was now fading from neglect. I don't think we can, I said quietly. Because this isn't really about Raj, is it? This is about the fact that you'd rather create drama with a stranger than have an honest conversation with your husband? That's not fair, isn't it? You spent months planning an emotional affair instead of spending 5 minutes telling me you were unhappy. You involved your friends, your co-workers, half the city in our business, before you ever tried to involve me. She was quiet for a long time, staring at her hands. What happens now? Now we get divorced like adults. We split our assets fairly, we don't drag each other through the mud, and we both try to learn something from this mess. What about Raj? Raj is moving to Miami, or maybe Los Angeles, somewhere far away where he can start over and hopefully make better choices. You threatened him. I educated him. There's a difference. I stood up and headed toward our bedroom to pack a real bag this time. I'll be out by tonight. You can have the house until we figure out the legal stuff. Owen? Her voice was small, defeated. Do you hate me? I stopped in the doorway and looked back at her. She looked so young sitting there, so lost. For a moment, I remembered why I'd fallen in love with her in the first place. No, I said, I don't hate you, but I don't trust you anymore, and I don't think I ever will again. And that's not enough to build a life on. As I packed my clothes, I could hear her making phone calls. Probably to Mel, maybe to her sister. Definitely not to Raj. I was confident that bridge had been thoroughly burned. My phone buzzed with a text from Kelly. Heard through the grapevine that you've been busy. Everything legal? I texted back. Completely legal. Also completely effective. Good. Divorce papers will be ready Tuesday if you want to move forward. I do. I finished packing and carried my bags to the car. Priya was still on the phone in the kitchen, crying and explaining the situation to someone who was probably giving her advice she should have asked for months ago. As I loaded the trunk, Mrs. Finch appeared at her front window, pretending to water plants, while obviously watching the drama unfold. I gave her a little wave. By tonight, the whole neighborhood would know that the Millers were getting divorced. I got in my car and sat there for a moment, looking at the house where I'd spent the last 5 years of my life. It was a good house, in a good neighborhood, with good memories mixed in with all the bad ones, but it wasn't home anymore. I drove away without looking back, heading toward my new apartment across town, a place Priya had never been, would never be, where I could start over without ghosts in every room. My phone rang as I pulled into the parking lot. Unknown number. Hello? Owen? This is Margot Stevens, from the design firm. I wanted to call and apologize for Friday night. That must have been very difficult for you. Thank you. That means a lot. I also wanted you to know that we won't be offering Priya the full-time position. After our conversation earlier this week, and after Friday's incident, we've decided to go in a different direction. I'm sorry to hear that. No, you're not, and you shouldn't be. She made her choices, and choices have consequences. I just wanted you to know that we don't tolerate that kind of behavior, personal or professional. After she hung up, I sat in my car for a few minutes, watching normal people go about their Sunday afternoon routines, families coming back from lunch, couples walking dogs, kids riding bikes in the parking lot. My marriage was over, my wife's career was damaged, and her boyfriend had fled the city in disgrace. By any measure, my revenge had been complete and devastating. So why didn't I feel better about it? Maybe because revenge, even justified revenge, doesn't actually fix anything. It just makes the score even. And being even with someone you used to love isn't the same as being happy. But it was a start. I grabbed my bags and headed toward my new life, leaving the wreckage of the old one behind me where it belonged. 6 months later, I heard through mutual friends that Priya had moved back in with her parents and was working at a department store while she figured out her next move. Raj had indeed relocated to Miami, where he was apparently struggling to rebuild his reputation and his business relationships. Mel had stopped posting about either of them on social media, probably because she'd figured out that being associated with drama wasn't good for her influencer brand. As for me, I was doing fine. Better than fine, actually. I'd gotten a promotion at work, started dating again, and even went back to boxing twice a week. Reggie said I looked healthier than I had in years. "Revenge suits you," he joked after a particularly good training session. "It's not revenge anymore," I told him. "It's just justice. And justice doesn't need to be cruel to be effective." "You sound like a fortune cookie." "Maybe, but I'm a fortune cookie who sleeps well at night."